you're here with Kyle of Windy City Meeples, and we're here for the part two of my deep dive on my upcoming Kickstarter games and what I spent my money on. Today, I'm going to go over the last few games that I have kickstarted, that I've come in on the way, either on the boat or several months away, that are not campaign games, or at least I don't view them as campaign games. As you can see in the part one of this video, I got a little campaign crazy, and I have a lot of games coming that are going to take a lot of time and hopefully will hit the table. But again, looking at updating my collection and trying more opportunities and more games, I told myself that I can't justify buying any more campaign games at this time because there's too much coming. And spoiler from part one, if you never checked it out, but Primal was the last big game that I went all in on. And after the cost of that one, I was said I need smaller games that don't have 10 expansions attached to them, or 100 different plastic miniatures. Although they look cool, definitely need to kind of change the pace of that. Once again, here is our YouTube page, Windy City Meeples. Thank you for the 17 people that have already decided to take this journey with us. That's amazing. We're trying to grow this channel video by video, subscriber by subscriber. And at the end of the day, me and Shane are just a couple of, let's say, nerd boys that love just talking about board games and all that kind of fun stuff. So let's get started and let's see what non-campaign games I decided to back. All right, so the first one here I wanted to cover is Sea of Legends. Still a narrative game, but not a campaign game. So this game I thought looked really cool. It involves a couple of things I talked about in my other videos. It does have some app-based narration that can change depending on what pirates you take into the adventure, based on who is your lover, who's your nemesis. So basically through this game, you're telling the story of your pirate in that world or that session, right? Everything's just one session based. And there's different oppositions that are going against you, whether they're mythological or, the Spanish galleon or the British Empire and those kind of things. But as you play the game, it's very sandboxy. And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the games behind me is Star Wars Outer Rim. And that game is really cool because you're a bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe and you're trying to become famous, right? You want to be the most notorious bounty hunter. And it's the first person to 10 points or 7 points, depending on a shorter game, to win. And it allows players to have their own decision. How do they want to play that adventure? Do they want to be known as someone who's a really good fighter? Are they just really good at delivering things? How fast kind of are you? So this game gave me that same vibe where if you want to go and just bury treasure, you can. If you want to go have these epic adventures with these narrative points with your lover, with your nemesis, you can do that to become famous. Or you can, just fight other things on the board and other elements to try to get yourself that notoriety. You want to become the most notorious pirate. Maybe you have the biggest ship. Maybe you have the best crew. All these things go into, I believe it's the first person to hit 10 notoriety kind of wins the game. So me and my wife and a few of my friends love Star Wars Outer Rim. This allows us to do it as pirates. And you guys know me at this point, love my sea, water, ocean games. So this is everything I should enjoy in a game. So let's kind of flip through. We got our big, nice, colorful map. You can kind of go through, different towns and ports and cities. Tortuga's in there. All that kind of good stuff. Can be up to 5 players. It says 40 minutes per player. I guess we'll see how that goes. I know when we play the Outer Rim, if it's just me and my wife, I think we've played the entire game in about an hour. But of course, you can kind of shorten that or extend that once you know the rules and that kind of stuff. So I'll just kind of flip through. I did go all in on this one. It allowed you to get some extra NPCs is the word I'm looking for. You can see here on the side that says includes all these different side clans. So when you're playing, it's not just you as the players. So whether it's a 2-player game, 1-player game, 4-player game, 5-player game, there's also the NPC. So whenever you play games, there's going to be other tribes that are trying to accomplish whatever it is they're trying to do, right? The Dread Tide, I believe, are the ones that are like basically like pirate skeleton zombies, and they're trying to like infect the world. The Children of Talok, I think, are similar to kind of like merfolk, and they're trying to get all these like relics, right? There's kind of all these different side people you can play with that have their own goal too. So technically you could play a game where no one wins and the game wins. So there's a little bit of cooperativeness where you have to kind of maybe prevent these tribes from doing their things. But at the same point, you're also just like, hey, I want to be a pirate. So you kind of get that decision of what you want to do. And the cool thing is, depending on the pirates you take, what lover nemesis you take, and what side NPCs you're putting in the world, that's going to change up the scenario of the stories you're playing in for that game. So you think about, there's a lot of different permutations there. This isn't a statistic class, but you're looking at, you have the 6 different captains you can be, plus these 8 different NPC classes, plus all, I think it's 40 plus lovers and nemesis with the add-on pledge. That's creating a lot of variety to the story adventure. And you might be a person that doesn't even like having the story adventures. You just want to sail around, bury gold, and shoot things with your cannons. So again, that's kind of all you can, those are the things you can do. Roll some dice, activate the abilities with your tableau in front of you. Your character will have abilities, your lover will have abilities, your nemesis will have abilities, and you can use your crew as well to mediate and change your dice rolls. So of course there's a little bit of luck, like any time you're throwing dice, but you can kind of put yourself in a position where you can, maybe almost guarantee the outcome for yourself. So there's items you can find, legendary pirate treasure, all that kind of stuff. See, there's Tortuga, different locations. There's the Tavern Deck. You can recruit, again, have those adventures I talked about. And this one's what's really exciting because it should be coming this month, if everything works out. If not, it should be the beginning of April. Again, being in Western Canada, you never know how is your stuff going to show up compared to your neighbors to the south there in the States. Yeah, so some cool miniatures for this one too. Again, it wasn't the miniatures that necessarily tied me in. It was just kind of that let's play a sandbox adventure. So every time you play can be a little bit different. And I find with sandbox adventure games like The Outer Rim, even if you lose, you still got to tell the story of your character and your triumphs and your maybe big fails. So that's really cool to see. See, the All-In Pledge just kind of added those extra tribes. So again, anything for me to keep the game kind of fresh, gives you extra captains and give you kind of those extra NPC ones as well. You got this like Cthulhu looking one, the Aztecs, and this cool dragon, some water elementals, Spirit of Vengeance, the Harpy. I thought all these looked like a really cool way to kind of keep the game fresh and to get in and get playing. So this is one that hopefully we will have a gameplay review on in the next month or two that might involve more than just me and Shane. We might be able to convince some others to give some input on some games. So I'm really looking forward to testing this one out with you guys shortly down the road. So here's one that currently is on Kickstarter with 10 days to go that I backed. And probably by the time this video gets up, it's going to be into the late pledge area. This is one that probably will come to retail. Maybe, we'll see. You never quite know with these things. But me and my wife recently, and I know we're late to the party, but we tried Everdale. And we really loved that idea of building up kind of your community, worker placement, and just kind of like growing your tableau, and you're kind of like telling this, I guess, story of your community. So what could I have done? Could have bought Everdale, but my co-host Shane has it, and I believe all the expansions, except for maybe the one on Kickstarter right now. We'll see if he goes to that or not. But I wanted to get a worker placement game because I realized I don't have a worker placement game in our collection. So I seen this one pop up, Meeples and Monsters, and yeah, it gave me that worker placement. So you have a board, you have your workers, you're moving them out, you're taking actions. The cool thing about this one is, let's say in Everdale, you're building your tableau, your town in front of you with abilities, and doing worker placement. In this one, you're doing your worker placement, but you're also doing some bag building. So every turn, you got to kind of pull your little meeples out of the bag, and then that sees, what workers you have access to that turn. And there's some fighting you can do with some of like the evil things in the world as well, right? So that's kind of that fantasy element. It's meeples and monsters, so you got to put some villains in there at some point. Great thing about this one, it's cheap. It's so nice here. See, about $63 Canadian. That might be one of the cheapest Kickstarters that I've ever backed for games. So we're looking forward to this. I thought the meeples looked gorgeous and really fun with their little printed pictures on the front. And that was part of the reason why I also wanted to get this now, because they do say if they go to retail, they're not going to have, they'll just be colored and not with these pictures. So I was like, I got to have those. So this one looks fun. And again, it's nice and cheap. It's got a great history of games that this publisher's kind of worked on and done. So really looking forward. You can see here, so recruit, train up your city folk to powerful allies, upgrade them throughout kind of the board actions, and, fight the villains around, get some victory points. So this one is one of those ones where, the most victory points at the end win. Should be a little small bag building worker placement game that, to me, I think looks like a lot of fun, and would be another one that ideally maybe I can teach to some non-gamers to get them kind of playing more games. And again, see, I wouldn't want just these basic colors. I like having those little printed designs. Depending on the order of how this comes out, I know me and Shane are going to be doing a video on, do you need deluxe components? Do you have to have those printed materials? And I'm a big fan of them. So a spoiler or blast in the past, depending on how this goes. But really looking forward to kind of see how this one turns out. And it's nice because of the lower price. I feel like there's less of a risk on this one. So I thought, yeah, let's give out Meeples and Monsters and get a worker placement game into my collection. All right, Merchants of the Dark Road. Here's another one that I got into the pre-order / late pledge. Again, it's another one with Elf Creek Games where their game worlds just look beautiful. Like just looking at this base art, just something that really kind of, yeah, this looks cool. You might say Merchants of the Dark Road. Yes, you are. You're a merchant. You're not a badass warrior fighting adventures. You're not playing this epic campaign where you're able to kill 1,000 skeletons. You're the guy or gal that helps those people get their gear and items. You are a merchant, which at first, when I first seen this game, I didn't really connect with, because I really wanted that. I want to be big, powerful, magical, but now that I've started to really taste out and try other games and do some of those worker placement, those dice building, I was like, no, I just like kind of building these games. So let's talk about this one a little bit and what you can do. Like I said, your journey begins. You are the merchants that are helping, that are providing goods and services. So yeah, you're looking at manipulating markets, selling goods, collecting goods, a little bit of Tetris, because you have your caravan and you can only fit so many items into your caravan. You can escort heroes to where they want to go. This game is all about becoming a very famous merchant and becoming a very rich merchant, which to me makes this game have one of the most unique win conditions that I've seen in a very long time. Like I said, you're gaining fame. and you're gaining fortune. But when it comes to your final score, it's whatever's lower. So if you finish with 100 gold but only 20 fortune, you score 20 points. If you, vice versa, maybe you have 80 fortune but you only have 10 gold. Well, you might be famous, but you're probably homeless because you don't have any gold. So I think it's really interesting that your final score is affected by what is your lowest of the victory points conditions. So obviously you want to try to keep those things really close. The unique part about that too is you're like, well, what are my opponents doing? Well, the fame board is open to everyone. You have a pretty good idea looking around you who's famous, but you don't know how much money is in someone's bank account. So money is secret for that player, where the fame is public. So there's definitely that kind of interaction as well too. So there's a little bit of board building and stuff here, just some deluxe components again. I'm going to try to get down to where it shows the board. But when you move every turn, you kind of have to plan out ahead of time, because you only get so many dice that kind of show you where to move or how far you can move. And then depending on where you are in the city, you can only take 2 actions, kind of one on each side of you, where you end up on that space. So you kind of got to plan ahead a little bit to where you want to go and, you know, how you want to get there. So there's a little bit of looking ahead, but I also think it's really fun just to let's kind of put our items into our caravan, check it out. When you actually do go on your adventure to escort your goods or services to the different towns in the world, you get to have a little animal companion that helps you out, can provide some extra abilities. The market wheel, so you can find out how much goods cost. One turn, your guns might be worth, or your weapons might be worth 5 gold. The next time it comes around to your turn again, they might only be worth 1 gold. So knowing when to sell and hold on to your goods. Special cards you can get to get yourself more victory points. Again, some player screens here. So deluxe components. So this is where I kind of back, because I wanted those really pretty little wagons there. So these will be the score checking tokens. Some more kind of deluxe components. Promos. Just trying to think if I can find that board again. Right, so here it shows you need to plan your route. So I was talking about those numbers you kind of push through. You get these 3 action things here, where if you push a dice through, you get to take one of these actions. And then when you get to the kind of the very top, that will be the number of spaces you're able to move kind of through the town. So we'll show you that kind of here in the city. That, oh, this is going to be weird. You see each one of these corners is where you kind of land to. And if you land here, you could interact with something on each corner, but maybe, you know, you want to try to get over here. So it's really hard to explain with this moving graphic. And I'm sure when I do get that game, I'll talk more about it. But there's tons of other YouTube videos. Just looks like a really cool game that's different. You know, you're a merchant for the heroes. You know, you're providing communities with weapons and items and gold. So really looking forward to giving this one a shot. I do think it looks really cool. The art looks beautiful. And this is just a game that I'm excited to have in my collection one day. Even just this art alone, I think will be beautiful up on the shelf. And there's some pretty good comments about this one too. So definitely worth checking out. All right. So what if your fairy tales were in a cyberpunk world? That brings us to Twisted Fables. So as my collection kind of grew, just talking with my wife and my partner here, we needed games that were quicker. We have a little girl, for those who don't know. She's 1.5 years right now. And basically our chance to play games is when she takes a nap or when she goes to bed in the evening, which is totally fine because, hey, family comes first and gotta have that wonderful family time. But when we do get a chance to play a game, if we go back to that campaign video, we're probably not going to have 4 hours, a lot of time to sit down and play a game. So I wanted to find something that was quicker, potentially, that's just me and my wife could play together. there's been a lot of games we've added in kind of that category for us. Dream Home is one it's a very basic set collection game about designing your dream home and gathering victory points, and we have a blast with that. We've been playing Call to Adventure a lot, which has been a blast, which is, again, another way to build up your hero through your story and your challenges, but it's a lot quicker. This game here really made me connect back to my Magic days, because there's the deck building kind of battler. I don't even know. Sorry, it's yeah, a bit of a deck building you get to level up. Let's actually kind of scroll down here so you can take a look. I thought the key theme was cool about this one, because being able to be these Fable type characters kind of battling each other head to head, I thought would be really cool. I thought it was, at least ideally, was one I thought would be a little bit quicker for me and my partner to play together. But again, we will see when it actually comes. But yeah, you really got that futuristic cyberpunk with like cyber tech assassin, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Alice, Mulan. I don't know who this one's supposed to be. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But yeah, it's just a little head-to-head fighter. And it was actually the King of Average here, watching his video on it, was one that sold me, that was like, hey, I should get this game, because I really appreciate his content and his videos talking about these games. And he mentioned that it was a nice deck builder kind of level up game that wasn't overly crazy complicated, but yeah, you could build up a lot of synergies and combos. And was something I believe in his video, he says he could play on his lunch hour. So I might be misquoting, but again, his information on it, he could give you way more than I definitely could, because he's got to play the prototype. But yeah, looks really exciting. I'm just going to show a few more pictures here to actually show you guys kind of what the board looks like. So you have your fairy tale characters. Doesn't appear like there's many men in this world, because I think they're all female characters, which again, I think is super cool. So you get your Fable cards, your Little Red Riding Hood, all your characters. As you play, you can kind of, you get your kind of starting deck, and then you can upgrade your different decks based on what abilities you want to use for that game. So you can probably, from my understanding anyway, pick one character, but have 3 or 4 different skill trees you could kind of work on, or mix a little bit of both, or really dive all in on kind of one theme. So you have your cards. So you have your deluxe pledge as well. And what does the deluxe pledge do? Well, art book gives you extra characters and gives you miniatures. So it's not just cardboard standees. You can put Mulan versus Little Mermaid on the board. And to me, the idea of that just sounds like so much fun. The art, I think, is really cool. If you like, I like a lot of watching anime, and it kind of has that vibe to me with that cyberpunk anime, kind of futuristic. I've seen some comments where people talk about maybe the characters are sexualized a little bit, and that's not something we're going to sit here and spend hours on. You can kind of make your own decision with the art as you wish. But again, to me, I think it looks really cool, and I'm excited to give this one a go. And again, I'm hoping this is something that can be played during a nap time. That's not too heavy. Looks like it just takes up a bit smaller of a table space, and just have that kind of head-to-head battle with someone. And they do have a 2v2 mode as well, so maybe me and my wife can take on Shane and his wife at some point, and we can talk about that afterwards. So really excited to try this one. A little bit different because it's got that card battler, and it's, I think, probably the only game that's just 1 to 2 players primarily that I think I've really covered in this video, with the exception of the Isofaron Guard. But again, that's a giant campaign game that will take a lot longer. Okay, we're getting there, guys. So another one I backed was Endless Winter by Fantasia Games here. This one, it was after I played Everdale for the first time, I really like the idea of these worker placement games with building up kind of a tableau or a certain kind of play style. And again, that I want to say prehistoric, but that's not necessarily right. But this time period and kind of growing up your tribe just really kind of seemed like something my playgroup would like. So again, I thought this was something that was a little bit different. You have your leader, and you're upgrading your clan through basically different years and generations, right? I believe it's only like a 5-round game, 4-round game. I might misspoken on that, but you have all these different ways to go for victory, right? Whether you want to explore the land and kind of spread out your tribe, or do you want to go hunting and gathering and collect animals that you can use to eat and give yourself resources, or you can keep them kind of as a zoo, a farm, to befriend them, to train them, whatever spin you want to put on it. But you can get victory points for set collection by gathering the animals. You can get points for spreading out and exploring on the land. I think you can also get points too for how you manage your dead, and when your tribes will die, like how you want to go about doing that. So you basically get so many actions per turn or per round, and there's these 4 kind of unique decisions you can do, and the first player gets to go all the way down through all these actions, and there's a bonus at the end. And these bonuses are usually pretty significant, which makes you want to be the first player, because the next player, they can go to that same spot and do the first 2 series of actions, but they won't get the big bonus. And then there's kind of this eclipse phase where you can kind of bid for first player bonus. So I can see that being like a really big deal, especially in a 4-player game where there's these only 4 bonus actions, but the round might consist of you having 3 or 4 turns. So you want to try to get to these bonus spots. But that strategy, that's not what we're here talking today. Just a game, again, that I thought looked beautiful, loving the deluxe components, and I like the idea of trying to take my tribe, my clan, have them grow. There's a little bit of deck building to do as well as you get different abilities. I think one of the cards was like inventing fire, and I thought that was just so thematic to how you're developing your tribe and your world. You can kind of see it here. They really did a good job of mixing the mechanics to the theme, right? So fire gives you X or whatever, right? Again, I can't remember exactly what it does for you, but it kind of makes sense thematically to like, okay, your tribe invented fire. That's a big deal. That's going to have some kind of big payoff, right? That can really help. And this one is supposed to be coming this winter. So we'll see. It's got a pretty big table presence. And this is something, yeah, culture cards. That's the word I was looking for. And you can get different abilities. So it seemed to me very Everdale-like. And I enjoyed Everdale so much that I want to do this on a shot. I'm not saying they're the same game. They're obviously very different. But this is something where you have worker placement. You have a little bit of cards that can give you abilities and inventions. So between Meeples and Monsters and Endless Winter, it was my enjoy and my experience of Everdale that wanted me to spread out into these type of games. So this is one I'm sure we'll have a review on, and potentially some kind of a gameplay down the line as well. So you can see here again, there's those action phases. You get miniatures for your clan leader, but the rest will be these cute little meeples. So a lots more meeples coming for Windy City Meeples, which is really cool. Almost done. I think just 3 more. So this is an old game, I think from 2015, 2016. Castles of the Mad King Ludwig. Sorry. And why did I get a collector's edition for a game that I've never played? And that's a few years old. Well, a couple reasons. First of all, deluxeified game trays. It looks pretty. And it has some expansions kind of all in one box, so the storage space will be a lot better. But what led me to this game was playing that game Dream Home that I mentioned earlier. Me and my wife were playing a set collection game where we kind of had a little puzzle in front of us to fill out. You had to build your basement before you could build stuff upstairs. And that was really fun for us. And it's actually in the last 2 weeks, we've played that game probably 6 times. And that's big for me because I would honestly play board games every single night if I could. So if I can find one that I can play that often, yes, it's going to hit the table. But I was like, I needed to find a game. What's that, but one step farther? So where do we have the set collection, but we're kind of building that world in front of us. So I found this game Castles of Mad King Ludwig, where you're building a castle, but there's set collection. There's building points based on where you put rooms next to each other. And I was like, okay, like this could work. There's a lot more strategy in being the master builder and who gets money or how you get money. So I think this one looks really exciting, really pretty. I definitely could have had castles at my house tomorrow by getting the basic edition, but at this point, I'm starting to lean towards I'd rather have less games that are more deluxeified versus more games that are less deluxeified. That's a personal preference, but I like those little additions that kind of add to my immersion. And our very first or very second first podcast ever, I really talked about how I want to be sucked into the world of these games I'm playing. That's why I lean towards those narrative, story driven games with campaigns, because when I play board games, I want an escape from everything that's going on in my day to day life. I have a great everyday life. I literally can't complain. I get to work, I have my family, but still, you still want a break. You still want an escape. And for me, it's not video games. It's not even really so much TV shows anymore. Like board gaming is what I like to do. So this is a game that hopefully I'll even be able to get my family in a little bit too, because at the end of the day, your set collection and doing your bonuses, but you also just get to make a castle, which is pretty darn cool. So looking forward to giving this one a shot. I'll kind of just go through some more pictures here. Just that idea of, hey, let's build up our castle. They had a colossal upgrade, which makes everything like super huge. And I didn't go for it, but I thought that was really cool. So like your pieces would be like this instead of like this, right? So just another cool option that was there. This was something I wish I would have got on right away because I did late pledge it, so it cost a little bit more. So for all you out there, it's better to catch these things sometimes. Sometimes your companies will go to late pledge and it's the exact same price, and other times it's like $20 more. So, there's that risk on any side of it. But again, this game can be really inexpensive. I think I seen here in Canada at 401 games, it was $50, I think. So you can definitely have this experience for $50 Canadian, which I think is pretty good. But again, I wanted a little bit more of those deluxeified components. So I will wait till this comes around. I believe it says this Christmas. So I'll let you guys know what I think about the game once I finally get a shot to play. But again, I like the idea of building a castle. 2 more here and we can bring it up to an end. Ragnaroks. So this is made by the creators of Centauri, if I'm saying that right. And it's an abstract game that's designed to be a lot quicker. I like games. Let's say you take a game like chess. It's a 1v1 game where people will say it's the most strategic game in the world. And I can't argue that fact. I know there's a lot of people that can make a lot of money playing chess. But for me, I want, again, that more pretty element. And I like special abilities. And I like having more of a theme and a world to it. So I like those ideas of that 1v1 abstract. So anyway, long story short, that's kind of what led me to Ragnarok, because I'd heard so many wonderful things about that Centauri that they produced. And I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but it looks interesting. Good little head-to-head game. So I thought, why not try the next game in their collection? And again, look at this. You kind of play on this like tree stump. So beautiful world, beautiful gemstones. So already this game is absolutely beautiful. And again, cheapy. If you can get a game nowadays for under $60 Canadian. That is excellent. So if I go down through, this looked like, so how did Board Game Co., one of the YouTube channels that inspires me, has an excellent video of him playing this game with his wife. And you have your little, I guess, Viking people. You kind of get to move in one line as far as you would want, and then you can build a ruin in one line that has nothing blocking that from where your character is. And the idea is you can trap your opponent's characters kind of behind these ruins and cut them off so they won't be able to make moves. So there's the trying to block your opponent, but also trying to gather as much points as you can. And trust me, I really recommend Board Game Co.'s video. You type in Ragnarok's Board Game Co., you'll find it. He does an excellent job kind of explaining the rules a little bit more. But you have this quick actions, you move a guy, you then get to place a rune, right? So it's like 2 things on your turn, but there's all these special abilities and characters you can play as. So I think they're like gods. Oh, sorry, they're called myth cards, but these will allow you to have an ability that's a little bit rule bendy. That's something unique that your character can do. It adds some replayability, allows you to change things up. Yeah, like here we got a quote. This is one of the best 2-player games I've played in a long time, So looking forward to trying this one. Again, should be another one. I believe in the Board Game Co. video, they finish one round. I think it's in less than like 3 minutes. And, maybe 10, 15 minutes for a long one, even if that. So can definitely play pretty quick. Another one that me and my wife can try out while our daughter is having a nap. And you can see here they kind of got that Norse mythology. Odin here is a card. He looks like he has a special setup rule. And just some other characters here. You got stuff based on just the mythology stuff here, right? Like we got the 2 ravens. We got the guy who's supposed to eat the world. I guess that's the name there, but sorry, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce that. You can play as a pig. Like, this is so cool. Squirrel. Oh, yes, gotta play as the squirrel, right? Loki's in there. So again, this one should be a nice little quick game. Should be a lot of fun to play, and it's going to be gorgeous. Yeah, you move a Viking, you place a rune stone. That's it. That's your turn. Minus your special abilities that might let you manipulate some of this stuff. And then, yeah, you score victory points based on kind of what's around you. And you get your myth cards. So very simple, really straightforward, and pretty cheap as well. So really looking forward to giving this one a try. Really love the look of these runes too. This should be a lot of fun. And it's estimated this November. And I feel like this one might be one of the few games that actually comes on time. Don't have any inside knowledge for that. Just kind of a feeling I have. Last game. And then I'm going to wrap up. Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising. Why did I back this game? Well, I think for me, I've always liked tower defense games, kind of growing up, whether it's on mobile or computer. You play that, you're kind of like putting your archers in and trying to defend your base. So this is that tower defense in a board game. Main reasons I backed this was there was nothing like it in my collection. I love the idea of tower defense games. And I watched some reviews and some gameplays on it, and I was intrigued. I wouldn't say I was super excited, but I was intrigued. So out of all the games I have backed, this is probably the one I'm actually least excited about, which is kind of funny. That's the one I'm ending on. I usually end on something like amped up and positive. But for this one, I thought it was worth the check because the deluxe version was about $75. And that FOMO kind of kicked in. You had all these extra miniatures and bonuses for doing the Kickstarter version versus the retail version. And that, exclusive free expansion, that kind of stuff, it traps you so much. Right now, Zombicide Undead or Alive is up right now. And if you back that game, you are getting like quadruple the content that will ever come to retail But so far, I'm staying strong because I don't need another big game with a bunch of plastic. So far, I've kept out of that. You can see here again. I love watching Alex's videos from Board Game Co. He said it's an experience that he loves, and just on that alone, I'm definitely willing to give it a try. Here's that More Than Shadows box. You get again those expansions, game trays for that deluxe edition. So I think the base game was even cheaper, but I had to go with that $75 deluxe because I need these trays. I need ways to keep things organized. I know you'll see me and Shane in a lot of our videos talking about the storage of each game when we're talking about the reviews. But it is important. I don't think you realize it until you start getting way more board games. If something's a mess to take out and set up, you do pull it off the shelf less. So you can kind of see you got some like here, like this is only Kickstarter. This like cool Phoenix, this cool dragon. So with the tower defense in this one, you're playing your hero, and you can see your hero is going to have certain tile types that you can lay down on enemies. And an enemy card, you need to cover up all the, I guess, villains or bad guys on that to kind of remove that card so it can't damage your kingdom. And then there's some towers, obviously, you can kind of play as well. Again, this is probably one of the games that I have the least amount of information on. It's intriguing, right? And I thought the price was right. The extras are good. And hey, if maybe I completely love this game. I have no tower defense games in my collection, so it's worth giving a try. And if it's not for me, maybe this is one we can give away on the channel down the line too, because I'm sure there's people out there that will absolutely love this style of game. And like I said, for me, I'm just unsure. I love tower defense as an idea. Not sure how it's going to go over into a board game, but hey, you get a character, you get abilities, and there's probably one in there that's water-based somewhere, right? So I can get that look at this little like Kraken thing, right? So I should be sold on that alone. So yeah, pretty excited to give this one a try. It still might be a while here, but you have these heroes, and just, yeah, like all board games, I think I went from a year ago saying I need heavy campaign games where I have character growth all the time to, hey, let's try something new. Let's switch things up, because you never know if you like something until you give it a try. And that doesn't just stand for board games. Obviously, that stands for life. And I know that's super cliche, but it's super important. Why not? You can't judge something or say you don't like it until you give it a shot. So, hey, I don't own a tower defense game. The price is right. Why not try it out? And you'll be surprised and shocked by, what you can get out of something you didn't even know you liked. And at the worst case, you're out a little bit of bucks, which I think is why some of my friends really enjoy playing these games with me, is because they don't have to put the money in, but they can still have the experience, right? And if it's good, it's good. And if it's not, then no big deal. So I'm not rambling at this point, but I do thank you for taking the time. For anyone who's watched the video all the way through, this has been Kyle from Windy City Meeples talking about games I have kickstarted. And I'm hoping to put a pause to this list because I'm going to need a new house at this point to even hold some of these games. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen today. Stay safe, and always remember, play games and don't be afraid to try the new ones. Thank you. Goodbye.